Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here with my review on the first episode of the new Kamp Koral SpongeBob's Underyear series on Paramount Plus, and that is The Jellyfish Kid. And in this episode, SpongeBob and his friends basically tries to help SpongeBob catch his first jellyfish when he fails to do so. So, there's not really a lot of spoilers that I can come up with this episode is because that most of the scenes in this episode came from the sneak peeks of Kamp Koral, and I will address some of those scenes in this review real quick. So one of those scenes, of course, is SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy and the rest of the jellyfish members of Kamp Koral were going to actually catch a jellyfish with Squirrel being the camp counselor. Another scene from the sneak peek was SpongeBob actually getting a phone call from his mother if he actually caught a jellyfish. And another scene from the sneak peek was Plankton at this restaurant. He was basically working at this restaurant at the camp where he actually gave some of the food to Sandy, and then Sandy asked, "What is this slop?" And he said, "I'm not supposed to use that kind of language in front of children." That was a really funny joke from the episode. So, overall, what are my thoughts on the first episode of Kamp Koral? Well, if I have to be honest, it was pretty okay, I guess. I mean, it really didn't feel out of what we usually see in SpongeBob from the original series. And that's literally what this whole show is about. Is basically your typical. It's the same as the original show. It's the same characters. It's a different setting. It's in CGI, and the show writers are working on the spinoff. So it's no different from what you will get in your typical SpongeBob episode. So for this being the first episode of Kamp Koral, I wouldn't say it's the greatest in the world, but I will say it was pretty okay. There wasn't anything that blew me away too much, but there were some really funny jokes that I really enjoyed from the episode. So yeah, that's my thoughts on The Jellyfish Kid, aka the first episode of Kamp Koral. And yeah, so I do have the Google Drive folder given me to one of my Discord friends of all of the episodes that have been released so far of Kamp Koral. So yeah, if you guys didn't know, there was actually a Twitter article or a Twitter post that announced that there was actually going to be 13 more episodes of Kamp Koral coming in the future. So the first 6 episodes that we've got are just only the first 6 episodes. We are going to be getting more episodes of Kamp Koral soon in the future, but yeah. So that's my impressions on The Jellyfish Kid. I will be reviewing the other episodes of Kamp Koral since season 13 is currently still in production of the original show of SpongeBob. So this is the only type of reviews that I can provide at the moment until we actually get a new episode from the original series. So that's all I have to say with the episode. I'm not going to spoil anything else if you guys haven't yet seen it. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with my next review on the second episode of Kamp Koral whenever I get a hold of that. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and today I'll be reviewing the second episode of Kamp Koral SpongeBob Underyears, which is Sugar Squeeze and Tag You're It. So in the Sugar Squeeze, when SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy's candy has gone missing, they basically go out to investigate who has stolen their candy. So not only their candy has been taken, all the other campers' candy has gone missing as well. And it turned out to be that there are these 2 new characters introduced into Kamp Koral who has stolen their candy, which are 2 Narwhal siblings by the name of Narlene and Knobby. So these 2 characters are introduced in Kamp Koral. These are the new characters of the series, and they're actually pretty funny characters. So basically what they do with their candy is that they actually grind it up and turn it into this yellow sugar substance known as Sugar Squeeze, and if you consume it, you'll become very hyper. It's kind of like cocaine in a way because it makes you very hyper, and that's what drugs do to you. So yeah, this episode was actually a lot funnier than The Jellyfish Kid, and the animation has improved from the last episode, which was the jellyfish kid, of course. So yeah, this episode was actually really funny. I do love the two new characters, Narlene and Knobby. They were pretty interesting characters in my opinion. I love their designs. Narlene had this really strong southern accent, very similar to Sandy's, so I don't know why they gave her a southern accent. I guess they wanted to, I don't know. I mean, I'm not complaining about it. I just find it weird that we already have two characters with strong southern accents. Like, really now? But yeah, so yeah, overall this episode was pretty funny. I enjoyed it, and I do love the scenes of the campers being very, very hyper and energetic from the sugar squeeze. And the ending of the episode was actually pretty funny, where we got Mr. Krabs throwing in the campers and this little machine, and he like cranks the machine, and then it basically make all the characters or the campers hyper again. So yeah, overall, Sugar Squeeze was a really good episode, and I found it to be pretty funny. Alright, so now moving on to Tag Your It. So in this episode, it's a very basic episode. It's just SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy wanted to play a game of tag, but it started to rain outside, so they had to play indoors because Squidward said so. So I can't believe that an episode about tag is this funny, because this episode had lots of funny jokes in it. There was actually times in the episode where SpongeBob and the others tried to play tag with the other campers, but it turned out to be very violent to them. So they ended up playing a game of tag very violently, and it was very funny. There's actually another part in the episode that I really enjoyed, is when Mr. Krabs asks SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy to babysit Pearl while he's asleep. And so basically Pearl plays tag with them. That was really funny. And this episode also has a song in it, which was very funny, because it was just the lyrics of the song was just so random. It just got a laugh out of me of how random the lyrics were. And yeah, it was a really, really good episode about a game of tag. And yeah, so Kamp Koral is already turning out to be a really good series. And I've heard from a lot of people that after the first episode, the episodes do get a lot better. And judging from these two episodes, they're not lying about it. These episodes were actually really good, very funny, and I enjoyed them both. Alright, so that's my review on Sugar Squeeze and Tag Your It from Kamp Koral. I'll see you guys next time with my review on episode 3. And before I head off, this upcoming Saturday is going to be the season 2017 live review, where I'll be live streaming, giving out my reviews of all the episodes of season 2017 from my SpongeBob Roblox series, the series that I did over on my main channel. So if you guys can participate, please come on by and have fun as I review all the episodes of season 2017. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with another review of Kamp Koral. Hello everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm back again with another review on Kamp Koral's SpongeBob Underyears. So today I'll be reviewing episode 3, Quest for Tyre and Cabin of Curiosities. So in Quest for Tyre, SpongeBob and the other campers go on a quest to find the food truck when the camp went through a whole week without any food. So they basically they were very hungry, so they wanted some food, and so they decided to track down the food truck to see where it's at. And it turns out to be that the food truck is actually alive, and it starts attacking the campers. So this was a really interesting episode, and there were some moments of the episode that I really enjoyed, which were some of the antics of SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy tracking down the food truck. There's this one scene in the episode where the food truck was like drinking water from a lake somewhere, and they tried to attack it with these dipsticks. It was a pretty weird episode, but it was sort of entertaining at a point where it actually got an enjoyment out of me. So I'm gonna give Quest for Tyre probably a low good. I still think Tag Your It is probably the funniest episode of Kamp Koral that I've seen so far, but Quest for Tyre was still entertaining on its own. So in Cabin of Curiosities, in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick basically tried to earn their friend badge when they tried to make friends at the camp. even though that doesn't make any sense, it's because that SpongeBob and Patrick are already best friends, so they try to become friends with the other campers so they can get their badge. So it turns out to be that they never got a chance to get their badges until they stumble upon this cabin in the middle of the night where they met with these nocturnal like Halloween figures. There was like this anglerfish character. There was Nosferatu, who was named Kid Feratu because it was Nosferatu as a child. There was this gloppy pink monster character in the episode, and yeah, so I know they do have names, but I'm not going to say their names because I can care less about that. But yeah, this was another interesting episode from Kamp Koral that I found pretty entertaining, of SpongeBob and Patrick interacting with these nocturnal monster characters, and it turns out to be that they somehow weren't real because towards the end of the episode, Sandy and Squidward told SpongeBob and Patrick that those nocturnal creatures weren't real. Those characters that we saw in the episode, they don't exist. So yeah, that was Cabin of Curiosities. It was pretty interesting. Kind of reminding me of the Night Patty from the actual SpongeBob series, where SpongeBob and Patrick visited a nighttime version of the Krusty Krab. It was kind of like an altered universe of the Krusty Krab, where there was like these Halloween figures, these Halloween monster-themed characters, working at this nighttime version of the Krusty Krab. That's what this episode kind of reminded me of, and it also reminded me of a cabin in the kelp from the actual SpongeBob series. So yeah, so both Quest for Tire and Cabin of Curiosities were pretty interesting episodes, and once again, the animation looked way better than from the first episode. So that's my review on these episodes. I'm going to go ahead and end up these videos because that I'm not really too big of a fan of my narration here, but I try everything I could to provide you guys a review of these episodes. Alright, so that's it. Tomorrow, which is March 13th, is going to be the live stream of season 2017 of the SpongeBob Roblox series here on this channel. So if you guys could make it, please drop on by and ask questions if you have any while I review the entirety of season 2017 of the SpongeBob Roblox series that I did on my main channel. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with another Kamp Koral review on episode 4. Hello everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, and welcome to my review on the 4th episode of Kamp Koral SpongeBob Underyears, in search of Camp Nudist and Kitchen Sponge. So I just got done watching these 2 episodes, and I'm going to give you guys my opinions on them. So, in search of Camp Nudist, Narlene, one of the new characters of Kamp Koral introduced in Sugar Squeeze, informs SpongeBob, Sandy, and Patrick of a camp full of nudists, which are naked people, of course. So because they hear about this, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy go on an adventure to find Camp Nudist. So, if I want to be totally honest, just like with the Jellyfish Kid, honestly, this was a pretty weak episode in my opinion, is because that there really weren't that much interesting things going on in the episode when I watched it. It isn't as funny as Tag Your It, which is still obviously my favorite episode of Kamp Koral. I'm sorry, that episode was just too funny in my opinion. So it turns out to be that they were misunderstood by the word nudist. Instead, Narlene and Knobby showed them this camp that they created called Nudist Camp, which was a camp made out of dust. So, and then they basically tell them about that, and then after they told them about that, they told them that they were joking about it, and there actually is a nudist camp, and so that's when they discovered it for the first time. I won't go into any other details with the episode, is because that I don't want to spoil the ending, but I mean, I kind of did spoil the part where she said the new dust camp, but there was something else in the episode that I will not spoil if you haven't seen the episodes yet. So yeah, in search of Camp Nudist, this was a pretty okay episode. It isn't the greatest, but it was okay for what it was. Alright, so next is a Kitchen Sponge, and this is an episode where SpongeBob is offered a job to help Plankton cook food for Kamp Koral. So there's a lot of things going on in this episode that I really enjoyed. And but yeah, it was actually somewhat interesting, but again, I wouldn't say it's funny as the other episodes that I've seen of Kamp Koral. One of the cool aspects of this episode is the 2D animation segments, where this episode had the traditional 2D animation from the original SpongeBob series that is still currently airing on Nickelodeon. I found those segments to be really, really interesting. This is actually an episode that kind of explained about Sandy's and SpongeBob's backstory of how they met, which I will not go into details because that somebody already showed the clip on Twitter. I've seen the clip, but I didn't physically click on the tweet to see the clip fully because I didn't want to get spoiled by it. But I did see the tweet about how Sandy got to Kamp Koral on Twitter, but I never physically clicked on the tweet just to watch it because I wanted to find out for myself. And it was interesting, I guess. But I will say one thing that I will spoil, and is Sandy's name in the future, and it was Big Cheeks. So many innuendos and adult jokes can be made out of that name alone, just to let you guys know on that. But yeah, Kitchen Sponge, it was decent, I guess. It was pretty interesting, but again, it's still not my favorite episode of Kamp Koral. I'm still putting Tag Your It as my favorite episode of Kamp Koral as of right now. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed my review on In Search of Camp Nudist and Kitchen Sponge. There's only 2 more episodes I have yet to review of Kamp Koral, so please be on the lookout on that whenever I make a announcement about it. But as of right now, these 2 episodes, they were pretty decent. I wouldn't say they were bad, but they were just decent in my opinion. Not the greatest, but just okay. Alright, so thank you guys for watching my review on In Search of Camp Nudist and Kitchen Sponge, and I'll see you guys next time with another review of Kamp Koral. Hello everyone, this is Evie the Original Master here, and welcome to my review on the 5th episode of Kamp Koral SpongeBob Underyears, The Treasure of Kamp Koral and Camper Gary. So, I've just finished watching these episodes, and I'm going to give you guys my opinions on those episodes. So, in The Treasure of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob and Patrick are visiting the general store of Kamp Koral to buy a chocolate bar, and since they don't have any money, they actually go out and try to find the money. So basically, they find a treasure chest, and it turns out to be that the treasure chest that they found was actually Mr. Krabs' money. So they ended up finding his money as treasure and started using his money to buy things. And basically, Mr. Krabs finds it very, very amusing to him because he uses SpongeBob and Patrick to basically hand them his own money just so he can do all these nice things to SpongeBob and Patrick. And it was actually very funny and ended up leading into very cool hijinks. In fact, speaking about those hijinks, this was the first time we've seen Bikini Atolls in Kamp Koral. So this was the first episode where Bikini Atolls appeared in the series. I hope Bikini Atolls ends up appearing in future episodes if those newer episodes comes out in the future. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see Bikini Atolls in this series. So yeah, overall, The Treasure of Kamp Koral was actually pretty good. I actually really liked this one. So now moving on to Camper Gary. In this episode, Gary ends up becoming a target to Mrs. Puff, where she ends up chasing him all over Kamp Koral, trying to attack him. So it turns out to be that Gary is actually SpongeBob's snail as a friend, and this was before SpongeBob had Gary as a pet in the original series. And this was actually another good episode. It was really funny to see Mrs. Puff going ham on Gary, trying to attack him, led up to even more crazy hijinks. So yeah, overall, these 2 episodes were actually pretty solid. I really like these episodes. Do I think Camper Gary is better than Tag Your It, in my opinion? Well, here's what I'll say about Camper Gary to Tag Your It. I think Camper Gary had the best action in Kamp Koral, while Tag Your It, in my opinion, had the best humor. So both episodes are my favorite. So here's what I'm going to say. So far, hold on. Camper Gary and Tag Your It are my favorite episodes of Kamp Koral under two categories. Camper Gary for the action and Tag Your It for the humor. So to make myself a little bit fair here. So that's all I'm gonna say. So far, those two episodes that I mentioned are my favorite of Kamp Koral as of now. So yeah, that's my review on the Treasure of Kamp Koral and Camper Gary. And I'll see you guys next time on my review on the final episode of Kamp Koral as of right now, and that is going to be Hot Pearl Tato, and I think it was some other name of the episode. Well, anyways, I'm not gonna mention the other name until I actually watch the episode. So yeah, that's gonna be my next review. That's gonna be the last review of Kamp Koral until the rest of the episodes come out on Paramount Plus. And yeah, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Hello everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, and today I'll be giving you guys my review on episode 6 of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob Under Years, Midnight Snack Attack, and Hot Pearl Tato. So these episodes were actually pretty good, and I'm going to give you guys my opinions on them in this video. So in Midnight Snack Attack, Plankton basically has a laboratory built underneath the kitchen of Kamp Koral in the Krusty Canteen. I think that's the name of the restaurant, or the name of the cafeteria of Kamp Koral, but I think it's called the Krusty Canteen or some crap, I don't know. But yeah, so it turns out that the food that Plankton makes actually has side effects that turns creatures into these monsters. So when SpongeBob and Patrick discovers the vending machine that has all these snacks, they end up eating all the snacks, they turn into monsters, and they start scaring the campers away. And because of this, SpongeBob and Patrick are actually amazed by their new transformations. And so it's up to Plankton to actually change them back to normal. Now, yeah, so that's the overall plot of the episode. It was pretty good. I actually liked some of the scenes in this episode. And one of my favorite scenes is SpongeBob and Patrick playing this game with Sandy where they're on the zip line and they have to like smack each other with these pool noodles. That was pretty funny. And I actually like the antics of SpongeBob and Patrick as monsters, admiring their new transformations and trying to scare the campers away. Well, they really weren't trying to scare the campers away. They were just too happy of their new transformations that it ended up scaring the campers anyway. So yeah, that was a pretty funny moment of the episode. So yeah, Midnight Snack Attack was pretty good. I actually liked this one. It was pretty funny, and it did have some really cool visuals and antics in the episode. So next we got is Hot Pearl Tato, where Mr. Krabs basically tries to find a babysitter for Pearl when she ends up basically destroying Mr. Krabs' camp bunker. So he basically goes throughout all of Kamp Koral trying to find a babysitter, and he tells each of the babysitters to not give Pearl to SpongeBob. So it's a whole episode of different campers trying to babysit Pearl. It turns out to not be as wait, hold on, let me rephrase this again. So it turns out that Pearl keeps ruining everything, so each camper passes Pearl to somebody else. And of course, SpongeBob ends up getting a hold of Pearl. Narline and Knobby, the freaking Narwhal siblings, returns in this episode. They've only appeared like in a few episodes, and that was about it. They only appeared in Sugar Squeeze, The Search of Camp Nudist, and freaking Hot Pearl Tato. And in fact, freaking Knobby and Narline pulled a prank on SpongeBob where Knobby pretended to be Pearl as a baby, and he freaking lets Pearl run off on her own. So Squidward and SpongeBob goes out and try to stop Pearl from... Yeah, they try to get Pearl, basically. So, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and end off these reviews because that I'm already not happy with this performance. So I'm going to go ahead and just end it off before I run out of things to say. So overall, Hot Pearl Tato and Midnight Snack Attack were pretty good episodes. I enjoyed them, and that's about it. I'm sorry if this review was rushed. It was just because that I was struggling coming up with words. This is like attempt number 4 or 5 of myself trying to record this review, is because that I wasn't happy with my saying of words, so I apologize about that. But yeah, so that's it. That's all of Kamp Koral as of right now. The rest of the season of Kamp Koral will be released to Paramount Plus sometime in the future. That's what the SpongeBob Wikipedia said on ESB. So yeah. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry this review was a little bit on the weird side, but I did the best I could here. And I'll see you guys next time with another video. Hello everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, and today it is the day that the new Kamp Koral episodes came out on Paramount Plus, and I will be giving you guys my review on episode 7 of Kamp Koral, What About Meep and Hard Time Out. Now, both of these episodes were actually pretty solid, and I actually really enjoyed them. And I will make a disclaimer in the description of this video, so I will not have to make it to address it on camera, but please read the description of this video regarding 2 episodes of Kamp Koral. So, in the episode What About Meep, anchovies are introduced into Kamp Koral. This is the first episode where we are introduced to the anchovy characters from the original SpongeBob series who would say Meep. Now, all the anchovies all have a very distinguished personality trait where they all say Meep, but one of the anchovies decided to say Moop. So basically, this other anchovy wants to be different from the others, and because he says Moop, the other anchovies find him very weird. So yeah, so the rest of this episode was basically SpongeBob and Patrick and Sandy trying to teach this outsider anchovy character to try out different things than just saying Meep. Now, I'm going to go ahead and point out some of my highlight moments of this episode that I really enjoyed. And one of them was this really cool puppet segment where the anchovies were singing this song, and one of the anchovies, which was the one that we've seen in the episode who kept saying Moop. I thought this segment was really funny and really clever, and I really do hope they actually make an episode of the original series of SpongeBob where the whole characters are turned into puppets. I really did like the puppet segment. That was pretty cool. I also like the segments of course, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy teaching this anchovy character to be different things. And yeah, so overall, this was actually a really solid episode. It was pretty funny, in my opinion. They had some really clever Easter eggs and clever jokes. And yeah, this was actually a really good episode, in my opinion. So next is a Hard Time Out. And in this episode, Mr. Krabs put SpongeBob in timeout for accidentally breaking Mr. Krabs' ship in a bottle, all because it was basically Patrick who did it. He broke the ship in the bottle. He had already escaped from Mr. Krabs' cabin, and this is where Mr. Krabs just throws SpongeBob in timeout, and this whole episode is Patrick trying to set SpongeBob free. So SpongeBob basically tells Patrick to stay out of his way so he can serve his timeout, while we got Patrick throughout this whole episode trying to find a way so he can get in the timeout so he can actually be inside with SpongeBob. The episode then gets very weird towards the end. I will not spoil the ending for those who hasn't seen it, but yeah. So yeah, overall, What About Meep and Hard Time Out were some pretty solid episodes of Kamp Koral and a great way to bring back the series. Alright, so that is my review on episode 7 of Kamp Koral. Later throughout the weeks, I will try my hardest to review the other episodes as I get a chance for it. So please be patient when I do those reviews. I will pick a time and a day of when I will watch the other new episodes that came out this week, or well, today that is. But yeah, so I will keep an eye on that whenever I get a chance to review those episodes, which will be very soon. So please be patient with those reviews. And yeah. So yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the new episode of the Patrick Star Show. Yes, tomorrow is Friday, so there's going to be a new episode of the Patrick Star Show. So you guys will be getting 2 reviews this week. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Hello everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm back with another Kamp Koral SpongeBob's Under Years review. So today I'm here to give you guys my review on episode 8, Pat's Little Sinker and Kamp SpongeBob. So, and Pat's Little Sinker, in this episode, Mrs. Puff opens the lake of Kamp Koral, known as Lake Yucky Muck, in which all of the campers go swimming there, and she explains to the campers all of these rules, such as no diving, no splashing each other in the water, and most importantly, no sinking. So, of course, everybody breaks the rules at the camp of the lake, obviously. And so basically, Patrick is afraid of the water because he might sink. So because of this, SpongeBob and Sandy tries to teach Patrick how to swim. And since this happened, they decided that because none of this is working, they've decided that the best way to do this is to actually go underneath a Lake Yucky Muck, and then they all have a dance party there, because that's basically what the episode was about. So, overall, this was actually a pretty funny episode. I actually really liked this one, because there were some jokes in the episode that I actually did laugh at, such as Bubble Bath doing a cannonball in the lake, and he made like an explosion. I thought that was pretty funny. I actually enjoyed the moments underneath Lake Yucky Muck, such as SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy having a little party underneath the water. I thought that was pretty interesting, I guess. But yeah, overall, this episode was pretty solid, in my opinion. It had some pretty funny jokes, and I didn't really mind the premise of the episode, because they are kids in the series, and if you're a kid, you may never learn how to swim before, and that's understandable. It's because that as you get older, you'll learn how to do stuff more. So yeah, overall, Pat's Little Sinker was a pretty good episode, in my opinion. So now moving on to Camp SpongeBob. In this episode, Mrs. Puff, Mr. Krabs, and the other campers are out to go on a field trip, and they leave SpongeBob behind because he overslept. And because of this, SpongeBob is all alone at Kamp Koral, and he decides that he could run the camp himself. Now, this episode was just okay, in my opinion, just because that I think they could have did more with this episode, and that's what I'm going to explain to you guys here in this review. So what they did in the episode is that it's basically just SpongeBob trying to run Kamp Koral on his own while he was left at Kamp Koral because he misses the bus to go on the field trip. And so he basically have all these sea animals to be the campers. Now, the part that I've said that was missed potential, I think this episode could have been a lot more cooler if they actually alternate between the field trip and SpongeBob becoming the camper at Kamp Koral while he was left behind. I think that could have led to more funny potential. Like, we could have seen what the campers were doing at the field trip, like Mrs. Puff probably doing something with the campers, and then she realizes that SpongeBob was missing, and they have Mr. Krabs call SpongeBob at Kamp Koral to make sure if he's okay. Like, that could have been a much better plot, is because that then the campers and the camp leaders will take responsibility a lot more seriously, is because that if you leave one of your campers behind at Kamp Koral, then that's very irresponsible. Is because that they could have made sure, they could have checked to see if SpongeBob was there, but they didn't. And I think that was missed potential, in my opinion. Well, Plankton was in this episode, but he really isn't one of the camp leaders. He's just the chef cooking the food at Kamp Koral. And even he didn't seem to care all that much when he notices that SpongeBob was left alone. Like, Plankton could have easily called Mrs. Puff and say, "Yo, Puff girl, you left one of your campers here at Kamp Koral." And then Mrs. Puff, Mr. Krabs, and the campers all get back on the bus, they leave, and they make sure to see if SpongeBob is alright. But no, that wasn't the case. It was just SpongeBob trying to be a trying to be a camp leader while he's alone at Kamp Koral with all these sea animals attacking each other and whatnot. So yeah, overall, Camp SpongeBob was just okay. It's because of that missed potential. I wouldn't say it's bad or anything. It's because there wasn't really anything in the episode that rubbed me in the wrong way. But I wish that the episode could have been a little bit more better. But yeah, overall, that's my review on Pat's Little Sinker and Camp SpongeBob. I apologize if I made some mistakes here and there. This is actually like my third or fourth attempt, just because I kept screwing up the title of the show. I kept calling it SpongeBob Under Years and all that. I mean, yeah, that's the title of the show, but it's actually called Kamp Koral SpongeBob Under Years. But other than that, that's my review of Pat's Little Sinker and Camp SpongeBob. What are your guys' thoughts of these episodes? I would like to know, and I'll see you guys next time with another Kamp Koral review whenever I get a chance to do so. Hello everyone, this is Ebi the Sponge Reviewer here, and I am back with another Kamp Koral SpongeBob's Under Years review. So today I'll be reviewing episode 9 of Kamp Koral, Squeezery and Game Night. Now, I have to be totally honest with you guys that these episodes were pretty weak, especially Squeezery. And in Squeezery, in this episode, Squidward, the junior camp counselor, is out with the campers out on I think, a hiking trip. I think they're like out hiking in the woods or something. And Patrick is way behind. And so it is up to Squidward to basically guide Patrick through this forest. And what ended up happening is that both Squidward and Patrick ended up getting lost in this kelp forest. And that's where things goes haywire, where Squidward breaks his ankles, and it's up to Patrick to take care of him as he recovers from his injuries. Boy, this episode was not all that good. Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. This episode had a very, very dumb ending. The ending was absolutely ridiculous. It was very stupid. And the whole episode itself really wasn't all that funny, if I want to be honest. It was just mostly Patrick just being stupid, him purposely injuring Squidward's ankles and whatnot. And it really wasn't all that funny, in my opinion, if I want to be honest. This episode was just not that great. Some of the jokes just dragged on for too long, in my opinion, and I didn't really like it all that much, in my opinion. But yeah, that ending, I won't spoil it, it's because I'm sure you guys must have seen the episode, but yeah, the ending was just that stupid. So overall, Squeezery just gets a very bad rating. It's a bad episode, in my opinion. Don't waste your time with this one if you haven't seen Kamp Koral. I mean, you could watch the episode, but trust me, it's not all that great. Now, moving on to Game Night, and in this episode, Mr. Krabs, Plankton, and Mrs. Puff have an adult game night away from the campers, and they try to have a fun time playing through these board games. And this episode has a very dumb recurring joke, and that is SpongeBob constantly annoying the camp counselors, asking them to do these stupid favors. But there's actually one funny joke that I actually really did like from the episode, and that's when SpongeBob tries to ask Mr. Krabs to help get his teddy bear out of Patrick's stomach, and it turns out to be that the teddy bear was actually at the top bunk of his bed, and it turns out to be that Patrick vored Sandy. I thought that was a really funny joke. That was actually a joke that actually got me laughing when I first saw it, when I was watching the episode. But yeah, overall, Game Night was just okay. I wouldn't say it's as bad as Squeezery, but at the end of the day, the running gag of SpongeBob just constantly asking the camp counselors all of these favors wasn't all that interesting, is because it was just a dumb running gag. I mean, it would have been better if the whole episode was just focused on the game night, but no, they just had to do a stupid subplot where SpongeBob just keeps constantly asking the counselors for favors, and that just really wasn't interesting to me. So the reason why this episode gets an okay is because that there were some jokes that actually did get me laughing a bit, and the concept of an adult-only game night is pretty cool, but again, the episode was just okay. I wouldn't say it was as bad as Squeezery. The reason why Squeezery gets so bad is because of that terrible ending, that terrible, dumb ending, and the episode itself wasn't all that great anyways, because it was just dumb running jokes over and over again, while Game Night was at least passable for my taste. Alright, so that's my review on Squeezery and Game Night from Kamp Koral. I'd like to hear your thoughts of these episodes in the comments below if you have seen them. But yeah, so I do hope episode 10 is a little bit better in my opinion. But yeah, these episodes were pretty weak. Don't waste your time with them if you would see them. But yeah, I'm just recommending you guys that Squeezery is just not that good of an episode. Alright, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with another review. Hello everyone, this is Ebi the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm here to give you guys my review on episode 10 of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob Under Years, My Fair Knobby, and Give Me a News Break. So I just watched these episodes, and I'm going to give you guys my opinions on them. So, in the episode, My Fair Nobby, SpongeBob and Patrick must babysit Nobby, while Narlene is out, to do some family things. Basically, well, it has to deal with, the family of Nobby and Narlene, and so Narlene has to go to this. It's kind of like a something for her family or something. I know I'm not giving a good deep explanation of it, but it has to deal with that. And so SpongeBob and Patrick basically has to babysit Nobby while she's gone. And immediately when I first heard this plot about SpongeBob and Patrick babysitting, um, I was like, didn't we already had a babysitting episode earlier in this series, Hot Potato? But yeah, anyways, so SpongeBob and Patrick tries to babysit Nobby, and of course Nobby is very, very hyper, so he goes crazy and starts destroying Kamp Koral, and to the point where he actually crashes into the bunker of that weird fancy pink fish lady from freaking Krusty Catering. Yeah, I know she has a name. Just really don't care about her name. If I don't say her name, don't get all upset. It's because I just can care less. So yeah, so when Nobby crashes into the bunker of that pink fancy fish lady, she then turns Nobby into a freaking fancy person, and because of this, Narlene freaks out about it when she returns, and she tries to convince SpongeBob and Patrick to turn Nobby back to his normal self. So when that fails, it's so basically when that fails, Narlene then basically has to try to be fancy herself to knock Nobby back to his normal self, in which that was the case. So overall, My Fair Nobby was, it was okay, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't say it's anything special or groundbreaking. It really didn't seem all that interesting in my opinion when I saw it, is because that um it it kind of felt like it really didn't feel all that special in my opinion. Even though there were some things that kind of make me laugh in the episode, but other than that, I wouldn't say it's anything all that great. But yeah, I'll just say that it was okay. It was okay, nothing groundbreaking or anything. But yeah. So now moving on to give me a news break, and in this episode, Perch Perkins and one of the campers of Kamp Koral are out giving news reports, and that kid who's giving out who's basically doing the news report thinks that there are Martians out there. And so this whole running joke of the episode, or this whole running premise, is that Perch Perkins and the random camper are out giving false reports thinking that there are Martians out in Kamp Koral. Now, there were some really good things about this episode, such as the different campers giving out their news reports. I really did enjoy that scene. One of them was, of course, Sandy showing off one of her inventions, and she gets really upset about it because she she got offended because the camper who was recording the news report thought that she was a Martian, and she got really upset about it. I don't know why she got upset about it. I think Sandy just needs to calm down every once in a while. But we all know that Sandy gets angry at the smallest little things, and that's why I call her dumb all the time. But yeah, overall, so the plot twist at the end, it turns out to be that it's Pinata Day, and so yeah, they basically destroyed all of the pinatas that they thought they were Martians, and so they get abducted by a freaking pinata at the end of the episode. So once again, just like with My Fair Nobby, this episode was actually pretty okay. I wouldn't say it's the greatest thing out there, yeah, an episode about characters giving out news reports did sound interesting, and I did find the Pinata Martians concept to be pretty uncanny and creepy in a way, because it did have some creepy imagery. I wouldn't say it's creepy, but the whole setting was kind of eerie in a way, and that's why I thought it was pretty okay. But yeah, I wouldn't say these two episodes were all that great. They were just okay, in my opinion. They weren't groundbreaking. They weren't laugh out loud funny all the time, but it did leave an impression that these episodes were just solid and okay, in my opinion. Alright, so that's my review on My Fair Knobby. It gives me a news break. What are your thoughts of these episodes? Have you seen them? And yeah, I would like to know. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with another review. Hello, everyone. This is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm back finally with my next review of Kamp Koral SpongeBob's Under Years, and that is episode 11, Wisecracken and Squatch Swap. So I just got done watching these episodes, and I will give you guys my opinions on them. So in Wisecracken, Kamp Koral holds a comedy night where all of the campers decides to do their comedy routines, while Plankton is on the verge of creating a pie that is filled with deadly explosives. So this episode was actually pretty mediocre. Yes, I have to say that this episode was very mediocre, only because the jokes in the episodes really aren't all that funny in my opinion, and I really didn't like the whole gag of Plankton dropping the pie on himself and causing him to blow up. I think the problem with that is that they didn't come up with any they didn't come up with any creative ways of how Plankton drops the pie on himself and he explodes. It's just the same thing over and over again. He takes the pie out of the oven, he accidentally drops it and lands on himself, then he just blows up. So that really wasn't all that funny, in my opinion. The jokes in the episodes were mostly your typical potty humor, like poop jokes. So that really isn't all that funny. It's because I mean, come on now, it's like the lowest common denominator of humor, and yeah. So overall, freaking Wisecracken was pretty mediocre. So I'll probably give it a meh. Yeah, it was a meh. I wouldn't say it was bad or anything. It was just really boring, and it really wasn't all that amazing in my opinion. Now, Squatch Swap, on the other hand, was actually a really fun episode, in my opinion. I really enjoyed this one. And in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick convinces Sandy that sea squatches are real, and so they basically dress up as a sea squatch, and it basically attracted a real one. So basically, the sea squatch in this episode is a child, and when the parents arrive, that's when Sandy and SpongeBob makes their escape, and Sandy accidentally grabbed the sea squatch, the real sea squatch, thinking that it's Patrick. So this whole episode leads up to many antics with Sandy, SpongeBob, and the sea squatch, and this actually was the highlight of the episode, is when the sea squatch parents basically are trying to find their missing child. So yeah, this was actually a really wholesome episode. I really liked this one a lot. I liked the whole Sea Squatch family running amok throughout Kamp Koral trying to find their lost child. The ending was actually pretty funny in my opinion. I really did like the ending. I thought it was really funny and wholesome at the same time. So yeah, Squatch Swap was pretty darn good. I really liked this one. Alright, so thank you guys for watching my reviews on Wisecracken and Squatch Swap. If you guys have your own opinions of this episode, I would like to know in the comments below. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with another review. Hello everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm back with another Kamp Koral SpongeBob's Under Years review. And today I'm here to review episode 12, The Ho-Ho Horror and Outhouse Outrage. So in The Ho-Ho Horror, in this episode, Santa Claus pays a visit to Bikini Bottom to Kamp Koral to deliver the campers Christmas presents, and because the campers are not familiar with Santa Claus, they see him as this giant monster, and they basically try to run him out of Kamp Koral. So this episode was actually pretty it was pretty decent. I did enjoy the segments of the episode of the campers being terrified of Santa Claus, and they basically try to get Mrs. Puff to fight him off of Kamp Koral. So of course, Sandy's in this episode. Of course, she is from Texas. She's above the surface. She's the only camper in Kamp Koral who is familiar with Santa Claus, and she tries to convince the campers that he's not actually a bad person. So basically, Santa Claus then gives all of the campers their presents, and they all lived a happy life. So that was the Ho Ho Horror. It was a pretty good episode. I thought it was pretty funny, especially the climax where Sandy was fighting off Mrs. Puff to convince her that Santa Claus isn't a bad person. And once again, just like with the other episodes that deals I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. What I was trying to say is that they of course screwed up Sandy's karate glove color wrong. They've been doing this since at season 5 of the original series. That was actually the first season of SpongeBob where they screwed up Sandy's glove color by giving her SpongeBob's karate glove, which is the red one, and we all know that she has a green karate glove. So I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah, so the Ho Ho Horror was a pretty good episode. Now, in Outhouse Outrage, so Mr. Krabs goes to his outhouse to use the restroom, and it blows up during the process, and he basically plays as a judge to get the story of who blown up the outhouse. So SpongeBob, Squidward, and Patrick had their own unique stories of what they thought what caused the outhouse to blow up. And each of the stories that they've told were pretty interesting stories, and I found them to be pretty humorous. So it actually turned out that it was actually all 4 of them that caused the outhouse to explode, is because at the end of the episode, little spoilers, this vampire spider lady shows up in the episode, and she basically tells them that the outhouse blown up is because that each of the campers, including Mr. Krabs himself, had kept throwing all of this junk inside the outhouse that caused it to blown up. So the outhouse comes back to life as a ghost, and he basically tells them that they must rebuild the outhouse because of their doings. So that's basically how the episode plays out. I thought this episode was pretty interesting, even though it had more of the typical potty humor and whatnot, because the outhouse is like a restroom, and that's where most of the potty humor comes from. But anyways, I still thought this episode was pretty decent as a whole. Alright, so that is my review on the Ho Ho Horror and Outhouse Outrage. I thought these episodes were pretty decent, and I'm looking forward to the 13th episode, which is Are You Afraid of the Dork, which I'll be reviewing probably next month in October. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with that review. Hello everyone, this is Evie the Sponge Reviewer here, back with another review for Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years, and today I'll be reviewing the episode Are You Afraid of the Dork, which is the second special in the first season of Kamp Koral. So in this episode, the campers at Kamp Koral are telling ghost stories, and the Flying Dutchman actually makes his first appearance in Kamp Koral. So the Flying Dutchman basically shows up in this episode, hearing the ghost stories, and he isn't all too thrilled. Is because that all the stories that the campers were telling weren't all that scary. So basically, he goes around abducting a few of the camp members, including Bubble Bass, Larry, and Miss Lady Upturn, which is the name of the pink fish lady from Krusty Catering, and he basically manipulates their stories to where the other campers are the ones who get the better execution. So overall, this episode did have a really unique concept, but I think this episode could have been a little bit better if they actually gave the other campers some other stories. Like, for example, Sandy and Squidward were sadly the only 2 characters in this episode that didn't get their own ghost stories, and it was just basically SpongeBob, Patrick, Larry, Bubble Bass, and freaking Miss Lady Upturn. They were the only characters who had gotten their ghost stories, and I think they could have handled it a little bit better if they at least gave each of the campers in the episode their own stories. But overall, I found this episode to be pretty okay, I guess. I wouldn't say it's anything all that special, in my opinion, because of those other campers not getting stories. But the concept of alone is pretty unique, of the characters at a camp telling ghost stories. So overall, that's my overall thoughts on Are You Afraid of the Dork? It was okay. I'm not going to go into any more details of the episode, is because I don't want to spoil anything that is major. But overall, this was an okay episode in my opinion. Alright, so thank you guys for watching my review on Are You Afraid of the Dork? And I'll see you guys next time with more videos. Hello everyone, this is Eby the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm back with a new episode review of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob Under Years. And today I'll be reviewing the 14th episode, Help Not Wanted and Camp Spirit. So, in the episode Help Not Wanted, Cecil, Patrick's dad, pays a visit to Kamp Koral, and Patrick basically shows him around the camp, where he ends up becoming a huge favorite among the campers, putting Mr. Krabs, Mrs. Puff, and Plankton out of a job. So they're the ones who aren't really too pleased about Cecil's appearance and him literally taking over the camp. And so they try to come up with ways to run him out and try to improve on the camp. And if I want to be honest, I found this episode to just be okay. Is because it wasn't anything special in my opinion. There were some jokes in the episode that I just didn't find all that interesting. There were burp and fart humor in the episode, and I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, so this is kind of like them pandering to advertise the other spinoff show that is currently airing, which is the Patrick Star Show, because if you've seen the ending of the episode, you'll see that Bunny and Grandpat shows up in their 2D animated forms, and yeah, from the Patrick Star Show. And I guess this is Kamp Koral's answer to a crossover, and if that's going to be the case, then okay, I can see them doing that in a way, but well, overall, this episode was just okay. So now moving on to Camp Spirit. In this episode, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy befriends a ghost camper in the name of Maisie. And so they tell Mr. Krabs about the ghost, and then he basically forbids them to not mention her and whatnot. So they basically just become friends with this ghost camper. And once again, it was okay. It wasn't anything groundbreaking or special or anything. It was just mostly the characters just doing random ghost hijinks, like pretending to be ghosts, going around scaring people and whatnot. And yeah, so that's really all I have to say with these two episodes. They were just okay in my opinion. I mean, I know it kind of sounds weird for me to say that, but that's just how I felt when I watched these episodes. I wasn't thrilled about it. I wasn't laughing all that much with some of the jokes, but I just found these two episodes to just be okay. Alright, so that's my review on the Kamp Koral episodes, Help Not Wanted and Camp Spirit. I will see you guys next time with the next episode I have yet to review, so be on the lookout for that in the future. And yeah, so goodbye everyone. Hello everyone, this is Eby the Sponge Reviewer here, and welcome to another review of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years. And today I'll be reviewing the episode Hillfoo and Sun's Out, Fun's Out. So in Hillfoo, this is a karate episode, and I find it really weird is that Kamp Koral is the one who's doing karate episodes, while the original SpongeBob show hasn't had a karate themed episode since season 9. But it's really interesting seeing a karate episode again in the SpongeBob universe. So in Hillfoo, basically, Sandy and SpongeBob are competing to get their karate badges, but Sandy's the one who keeps wiping out everyone at the camp. So SpongeBob learns a new type of fighting technique known as Hillfoo, taught by Narlene and Knobby, the two narwhal siblings from the Kamp Koral series. And yeah, this was actually a pretty fun episode. It was actually really good. It's because that it felt like any other karate episode from SpongeBob. SpongeBob and Sandy having fun doing karate. But if I have one complaint about the episode, it's just a tiny nitpick. And I wish that the characters had their own karate colored gloves, but in the episode, all of their gloves were the same colors. I thought that was pretty lazy. I think they could have did it much better if they all gave them unique karate gloves colors, like Sandy the green ones and SpongeBob the red ones, and the others had like different colors, like maybe blue, pink, or orange or something. But that's just a tiny nitpick. Overall, Hillfoo was a pretty fun episode, and it's probably one of the better episodes in Kamp Koral. So now moving on to Sun's Out, Fun's Out, and in this episode, it's a very hot day in Kamp Koral, and the sun keeps melting everything. So they basically visit Mr. Krabs' cabin, in which he profits them in order to use his AC. So literally Mr. Krabs basically makes the campers pay him money just for them to use his cabin to use the AC. And yeah, that's just Mr. Krabs' character. He's very greedy and he wants money. And overall, this episode was just okay, in my opinion. I mean, it wasn't bad or anything. It wasn't anything offensive, but I wouldn't say it was anything too special. But I will give it credit that I do like the whole unique idea of the sun melting everything at the camp. That was pretty unique. But I wouldn't say that this episode was anything groundbreaking or amazing or anything. But it was still okay, and it wasn't anything too offensive, but it wasn't as good as the Hillfoo episode, in my opinion, but that's what to expect from this show. Alright, so that is my review on Hillfoo and Sun's Out, Fun's Out from Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Underyears. And stay tuned later this evening for my review on the Squeezery and Slappy Days episode from the original SpongeBob series, is because those episodes are coming out tonight at 7. So there is going to be another SpongeBob review later today, but yeah, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, so I'll see you guys next time with those reviews. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, back with another episode review for Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Underyears. And today I've just watched episode 16 of the series, First and Last Aid and Night of the Living Stench. And I have to say that these episodes were actually pretty funny, and I actually found them to be pretty good. So in First and Last Date in this episode, Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff are actually considering on getting a nurse for Kamp Koral when SpongeBob gets injured after playing a game with Sandy. And so Mr. Krabs wasn't sure about the idea because it cost money, and because Mr. Krabs is a cheapskate, he can't afford it. So Mrs. Puff ends up bringing in the nurse to Kamp Koral. And this is where the episode, in my opinion, gets pretty funny, where we get to see all these funny antics of SpongeBob injuring himself, where the nurse has to cure him by basically giving him, like, bandages and whatnot, and it was pretty funny. There's a really funny moment in this episode, and it has to deal with the music, and I don't know why, but there's this really funny music track in the episode that plays later on. It has like this yodeling music. I don't know why, but I found that track to be pretty funny. But other than that, this episode was pretty good. I really liked it, and it was pretty entertaining. So, and Night of the Living Stench in this episode, it's very similar to other episodes where characters like get stenched, or they like play around in trash and whatnot. So basically, Patrick and SpongeBob basically plays around in trash, and Mr. Krabs offers them a badge to be the world's smelliest camper or whatnot. So there's actually a badge for it. So everyone in Kamp Koral basically gets themselves dirty so they can earn this badge, with the exception of Squidward, is because that is pretty obvious that Squidward is the clean one. He would rather be clean than dirty. So the climax of the episode are the campers becoming stench zombies, where they try to attack Squidward to join them for the stench. And yeah, this is where the episode gets really interesting, where we get to see Squidward trying to avoid getting stenched by the other campers, and it was pretty fun. And it was obviously like those parodies of Night of the Living Dead. that's what the episode was based off of, because there were zombies and they became stench zombies in the episode. So yeah, overall, First and Last Aid and Night of the Living Stench were pretty good episodes of Kamp Koral. And yeah, I had a good time with these episodes. Alright, so that's my review. Hope you guys enjoy the review, obviously. And if you guys have an opinion on this episode, I would like to know in the comments below. So thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time with the next episode review whenever I do get a chance to watch it, and I'll deliver it to you. So, goodbye, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm here to give you guys my review on episode 17 of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years, Camp Crossbones, and the Jelly Life. So I just got done watching these episodes on my tablet, and I'm here to give you guys my reviews on the episodes. So in Camp Crossbones, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy are trying to earn their pirate badges by pretending to be pirates. And this is actually, I want to say, is the second pirate episode where Sandy played a role in, first being Pull Up a Barrel from the original SpongeBob show back in season 9. And this episode was pretty okay. We got antics of SpongeBob and Patrick playing as pirates along with Sandy, and the other campers decides to join in on the pirate side, where Mr. Krabs tells them that they can't be pirates or allow pirates at Kamp Koral. So it all turns out that the reason why SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy were taking the other campers' badges is for them to clean them, to earn a badge that requires the campers to clean other badges from other people. So yeah, so that was Camp Crossbones. It was a pretty good episode. It wasn't anything offensive or anything, but I found it to be pretty interesting. So now, next we got is the Jelly Life, and in this episode, SpongeBob lives among the jellyfish so he could learn about their lifestyles and whatnot. And this episode was heavily inspired by the Nature Pants episode, is because that's another episode where SpongeBob lives among the jellyfish, and Patrick becomes a psycho and tries to capture SpongeBob. So this episode is very similar to Nature Pants. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say it, is that the climax has a very similar premise to Nature Pants, where Patrick becomes a psycho and he tries to capture SpongeBob with a jellyfishing net. So yeah, but this episode was still pretty good because we get to see SpongeBob trying to live among the jellyfish, and he also learns how to sting people by becoming a jellyfish. So overall, that is my thoughts on Kamp Crossbones and the Jelly Life from Kamp Koral. I'll see you guys next time with the other episode review, whenever that will be. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys then. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm here to give you guys my review on episode 18 of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years, a Lake Crashers and Boo Light special. So in Lake Crashers, Sandy hosts a demolition derby for the first time at Kamp Koral without the aid of the adults or the camp leaders at the camp. And this episode was actually pretty cool, is because that we get to see more action scenes in the series with SpongeBob and Sandy going up against Larry and Bubble Bass in their go-karts or their monster trucks or whatever. So yeah, this episode had lots of action in it of the campers having a demolition derby. And if I do have one criticism with the episode, it really isn't that big of a major or anything. I kind of wish that the episode had like variety, like instead of just SpongeBob and Sandy going up against Larry and Bubble Bass, why not we get I don't know, Patrick going up against another random camper. But overall, at the ending of the episode, however, we did get another opponent that went up against Sandy, SpongeBob, Larry, and Bubble Bass, and that was Mrs. Puff. She finds out that the campers are having a demolition derby underneath the lake, and so she participates in the derby, and I think that kind of makes it up. But yeah, overall, I think they could have did better if they had other opponents besides Larry and Bubble Bass. But I won't count Mrs. Puff just because that she wasn't the one who had the idea of the derby, so I'm not going to count her, even though she was an opponent, but I still wouldn't count her as one either ways. All right, so Boo Light Special. In this episode, Mr. Krabs quits his job, or he leaves working for the Kamp Koral general store to where the Flying Dutchman ends up getting a job there. So the Flying Dutchman works at the general store at Kamp Koral. He basically curses all of the items that he purchases for the customers at the general store, and they all have spooky items now. And this episode was pretty decent, is because we get to see the Flying Dutchman have a job, and I don't think we've ever had much episodes like that in the original series, but it was pretty cool having an episode where the Flying Dutchman gets a job, and it was pretty cool. SpongeBob's in the episode. He goofs around at the general store, annoying the Flying Dutchman. Those scenes were pretty funny at times. And yeah, that's all I can say about Boo Light Special, is that the Flying Dutchman gets a job at the general store. He curses all of the items that the customers are buying. And yeah, that's pretty much the episode in the whole. All right, you guys, that is my review on Late Crashers and Boo Light Special. I will see you guys next time on Saturday, December 10th, with my review on the final episode that has came out so far of Kamp Koral. And yeah, I'll be reviewing that on Saturday, which is December 10th. So be on the lookout for that review. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with another video. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and welcome back to another episode review of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years. And today I'll be reviewing episode 19, Painting with Squidward and Kamp Cow. So, and Painting with Squidward, Kamp Koral is hosting a annual art contest where Squidward basically teaches SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy how to do art. And this episode was pretty alright. I wouldn't say it's anything special or anything, but there were some parts of the episode that somewhat made me oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Sorry if I was blanking out for a bit. The reason why I was blanking out is because that I got a message on my phone talking about the Wi-Fi settings. But what I was trying to say is that there were some parts of the episode that I really didn't mind all that much, or didn't find anything interesting, and that was just Patrick being a gluttonous slob because he eats a lot in this show, and it's not anything crazy or anything. So in the ending of the episode, Sandy makes a machine that could make art. So the machine goes haywire, and then the machine starts eating everybody else's artworks and whatnot, and then it turns out that Squidward became the art piece, and they won the art contest. And yeah, that was the episode, Painting with Squidward. The episode name is really generic because it's not just painting. They also did art sculptures and whatnot, and that's not painting. But still, this episode was just alright. So, Kamp Cow, in this episode, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy befriends a sea cow, and they basically take the cow all over Kamp Koral, where it starts eating everything. And every time the cow eats, it gets bigger and bigger, and they basically have to run him out of camp when Camp Counselor Krabs and the other camp counselors were not too pleased with the cow eating everything. So the cow in this episode is a female, obviously, is because that female cows have udders and whatnot, and while male cows doesn't, and they're referred as bulls. So, of course, this cow character is indeed a female, and the cow gets way too big to the point where they try to basically fly the cow out of camp, and because the cow was so big, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy and the camp counselors tried to get rid of the cow, but because of this, the cow spewed milk out of its udders, and the cow became back to its normal size, and that's how the episode ended. So overall, Camp Cow was slightly better than Painting with Squidward, and I'll probably give this episode a low good. It was pretty interesting seeing the characters interacting with the cow and everything, and yeah, episode was just pretty alright. It was pretty good at the same time as well. Alright, so that is my review on Painting with Squidward and Camp Cow. This is episode 19 of Kamp Koral, and I don't know if this is the end of season 1. We might get more episodes next year in 2023, but we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, so there is going to be one more video that I'll be making on this channel to wrap up the year, and that'll be done later in December, so be on the lookout for that video whenever it comes out. But yeah, there's going to be one more final video for this channel for the year. And then in 2023, I'll try to do more SpongeBob reviews, of course, when new episodes comes out. So with that said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and today I'm here to give you guys another episode review on Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years. And today I'm here to review episode 20, Helter Shelter and Reveille Revolution. Now, I would like to inform you guys that this episode has not aired in the US as of right now, but it was actually, it was probably airing on some different parts of the country or different parts of the world right now, but this episode did actually air somewhere else in the region, so that's how I'm able to review this episode a bit earlier than usual. So, in the episode Helter Shelter, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy are taken to different cabins when, their little square dance incident accidentally injured Squidward. So, because of Squidward's injuries, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy has to go to different camp bunkers until he recovers. And there's a running gag in this episode where SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy just kept crying because they won't miss each other, and I thought that was pretty alright, I guess. But yeah, and I think the best moments of this episode are the characters actually getting a hang of their new camp bunkers. Like SpongeBob was with Miss Upturn, Sandy was with Larry and his gang of muscle bodybuilders, and Patrick was with Bubble Bass and his nerd friends. And yeah, so because of them getting used to their new cabins, everyone gets sick and tired of them trying to act like them, so they basically kick them out of their cabins. And so yeah, so that's basically what the episode was, is just them going to different camp bunkers. This episode was pretty alright, I guess. I mean, I wouldn't say it was anything special or anything, but there were some funny moments in the episode, but I wouldn't say it was groundbreaking. So the next episode is Reveille Revolution, and in this episode, Squidward's job is to wake up the campers in the morning with his clarinet, but because he's so bad at it, an anchovy who plays the camp wake up fanfare music thing, he plays it on a trumpet, and he basically gets all of the attention, which makes Squidward very jealous. So SpongeBob basically compliments Squidward for his clarinet playing, and then yeah, so this episode is Squidward trying to prove that he's the waker-upper of the camp, and he's the one who's supposed to wake everyone up in the morning, but not the anchovy. But yeah, this episode was actually really funny, because there's actually a part in the episode where the anchovies grabbed the outhouse and took it above Bikini Atolls, and there was this part where a ferry boat came in, and we had these live action actors in the boat just booing at them. It was really funny. Like, that was a really funny part of the episode, and I really enjoyed that part. But yeah, overall, Reveille Revolution was pretty decent. I mean, it did have some really funny moments of the episode with that ferry boat. But yeah. Alright, so that's my review on Helter Skelter and Reveille Revolution from Kamp Koral. Hope you guys enjoyed the review, and don't worry, you guys, there is going to be another review coming out later tonight, because there is a new episode of SpongeBob SquarePants, which is going to be on Ma and Pa's Big Hurrah, which I've actually teased in the previous episode review I did on the Patrick Star Show. So be on the lookout for that review later tonight at around 7-11 or something, around those times. The review should be out later tonight. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. So the next episode is the Switch Glitch, which is the Kamp Koral segment of the Title Zone. And in this episode, Karen and Patrick switch brains when Karen discovers these lightning berries. And what happens is that Patrick consumed the lightning berries, and both Karen and Patrick's brains switched. And so Patrick has the mind of Karen, and Karen has the mind of Patrick. And it's up to SpongeBob and Sandy to figure out a way how to reverse the glitch. So this episode was, it was pretty okay, I guess. I mean, it wasn't all that interesting, in my opinion, is because that, we've already had episodes in SpongeBob which had characters switching. Well, technically, I don't think there was an episode where it had, like, mind switching, but there was body fusion in a few episodes. But I do want to say that this is the first episode, if I recall correctly, that does have a switching brains idea. But yeah, this episode was pretty okay, and there were some moments that I did like, such as SpongeBob and Sandy trying to figure out a way to switch Karen and Patrick's brains around. But overall, this segment was pretty okay. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and I want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day. Today I'm here to give you guys my reviews on the last remaining Season 1 episodes of Kamp Koral. And the first episode I'm here to review is going to be on Prickly Pest. So in this episode of Kamp Koral, Narlene and Knobby pulls a prank on SpongeBob and Patrick, to where Narlene drops an urchin into SpongeBob's pants, which they decide to befriend the urchin and keep it as a pet, and they decided to name the urchin Ernie. Yes, they decided to name this urchin off of the Sesame Street character. I don't know why, but it is what it is. So, this episode was okay. I wouldn't say it's anything special. It's no different from any other episode where, a character takes cares of a pet, and then all these chaos ensures. Like, it's really nothing groundbreaking or anything. So when SpongeBob and Patrick befriends this urchin, Ernie, the urchin, sends his other urchin friends to come out, and that's when Kamp Koral goes under amok, and everyone is trying to escape from the urchins. And this is where the episode just gets okay, in my opinion. I mean, it's nothing different than what we've seen in other episodes where, a bunch of these creatures attacks a place or something. I mean, it's been done before, and nothing was really all that interesting, in my opinion. I think the only funny thing that I found good about this episode, that was funny in my opinion, is when Sandy abandoned SpongeBob and Patrick and said, "You're on your own," so she just flies away, and then that's it. She just never comes back throughout this episode. And then the ending of this episode, it's nothing special. They just did a Kamp Koral theme song parody. At this point, these theme song parodies are just not original. I don't know why they keep doing these things. Like, because it's not original, because they did so many theme songs parodies in the original SpongeBob series in season 13, with episodes such as Skin, Wrinkle, in Time, and freaking the Salty Sponge, or Salty Sponge. Seeing the Kamp Koral theme song getting a parody, it just didn't leave a wow factor in me, because it was already been done before in the show. I don't know why they keep doing these theme song parodies. Is that really all they have left to do? And another thing that I found not interesting was the MLG air horn sound effect that they first used in the episode Goofy Scoopers. At first, it was funny, but then when they used it again, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I guess that's funny. Like, what year is this? Are we in 2016 now? Are we traveling back in time to 2016? But yeah, overall, Prickly Pest was an okay episode. Nothing, it wasn't bad or anything. It wasn't anything offensive, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking. So it was just left in an okay, for my opinion, and my ranking. Alright, so that's my review on Prickly Pest. I'll see you guys next time with episode 23. No, it was episode 22. Yeah, because the last episode was episode 21 that I reviewed. But yeah, I'll be back next Wednesday. No, not next Wednesday. This upcoming Wednesday with episode 22. I am so sorry if I'm screwing up my words here. I do want to apologize. That's just how I am when I talk. So if I do screw up, please forgive me and understand, because that's usually how I am when I speak. I make these tiny mistakes. I always apologize when making those mistakes, and it can be annoying at times, but that's just how I am as a person. So forgive me for that, and don't be a jerk about it either. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday on the 31st with my review on episode 22. So with that said, EB the Sponge Reviewer signing out. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here. And today I'm here to give you guys my review on episode 22 of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years. Are You Smarter Than a Smart Cabin? And Deep Sea D-Spots. So I just got done watching these episodes, and I have to say that both of these episodes were, once again, just like with the last episode that I watched, they were pretty okay. So in Are You Smarter Than a Smart Cabin, Sandy basically turns their cabin, which is SpongeBob and Patrick's cabin, along with hers, into a automatic smart cabin when SpongeBob and Patrick ended up dirtying up their cabin. So Sandy basically turns it into a sentient robot by the name of SAL, which is the acronym of Sentient Automated Lodge. And so basically, the cabin cleans up their mess, and everyone falls in love with the cabin until they decided to bring all their friends over to have a dance party in. And so basically, because they were throwing a party inside the cabin, they kept dirtying it, and so the cabin decided to take actions and throw them all out. So it is up to Sandy and the others to stop the cabin from taking over. So yeah, this episode was alright. It wasn't anything crazy or anything, and literally just like in the last episode, they freaking had that stupid MLG air horn sound effect. I don't know why they keep using that sound effect. Like, this is an old sound effect from a meme that happened like in 2016 or something, and the fact that they're using it again is just a little bit weird. But okay, this is 2023. I guess they're still doing outdated memes nowadays. But there is actually a really cool reference in this episode, and it's actually towards the ending of the episode where we see Sandy basically tearing her little invention apart, because Sal was operated from this. It was like this metallic cube or something, and then when Sandy was like deconstructing it, the cube started singing "I'm a Goofy Goober" from the SpongeBob movie, which I thought was a pretty cool reference, I guess. But yeah, overall, Are You Smarter Than a Smart Cabin was just okay, in my opinion. It wasn't anything special, really, and that's all I can say about it. So next is Deep Sea D-Spots, and in this episode, Mr. Krabs, Mrs. Puff, and Plankton all get food poisoning from Plankton's terrible cooking, and so it is up to Squidward to take care of the camp, or to run over the camp while they're in the hospital recovering. And so this episode is basically about Squidward turning Kamp Koral into his own place, and once again, this episode was alright. I mean, it wasn't anything groundbreaking or anything. Yeah, I'm sorry if these episodes turn out to be okay, but these are just my personal opinions, and I really didn't see anything all that wow factory with this episode as well. So it was just Squidward being taking over Kamp Koral. He turns the place into his own. Everyone worships him until they decide to run him out. And it wasn't anything special, really, and that's all I can really say about this episode. But the ending was pretty funny, and I really did like the scene of Mr. Krabs in the hospital crying, and Pearl was basically trying to comfort him, I guess. But yeah, other than those two somewhat funny scenes of this episode was once again just alright in my opinion. Okay, so that's my review on Are You Smarter Than a Smart Cabin and Deep Sea D-Spots. I would like to thank you guys for watching this review, and I'll see you guys next time with my review on episode 23. So with that said, this has been EB the Sponge Reviewer, and I'll see you guys next time. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm here to give you guys another episode review of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years, and today I'm here to review episode 23, Reggie Hild and the Perfect Camper. So, Reggie Hild in this episode, Lady Upturns' butler, gets fired from his job from working as their butler, and so, he basically goes out in search for a new owner to run their cabin, and he ends up, becoming the butler for Narline and Knobby, while SpongeBob takes his place for Lady Upturn. And this was actually a really interesting episode, focused on one of the side characters of Kamp Koral and not being the main ones. And yeah, this episode was actually pretty good, seeing SpongeBob becoming the butler for Lady Upturn, while Reginald, who was the old butler for Lady Upturn, being the butler for Narline and Knobby. And because he's becoming their butler, Narline and Knobby basically will take advantage of him by turning him into their own kind, like becoming hillbillies and whatnot. So yeah, overall this episode was actually pretty good. I really digged it, and it's a pretty solid episode. Alright, so next up is The Perfect Camper, and in this episode, it is the Kamp Koral Summer Games, and the Halloween characters from the Cabin of Curiosities episodes, like Kid Ferratu, the anglerfish, the weird pink gloopy monster character, they all play a role in this episode where they basically attend the Kamp Koral Games, and because they lost at the Kamp Koral Games, they decide to create this monster by the name of Clay to be the perfect camper to compete at the Kamp Koral Summer Games. And once again, this was another solid episode. It was actually a really interesting one, seeing kind of like the Summer Games. It kind of reminds me so much of the Fry Cook Games from the original series of SpongeBob back in season 2. But yeah, this episode was actually another good one. Like, I really did enjoy the moments in the episode, such as Clay competing with the other campers. And there's this really funny gag in the episode where I think it was Squidward who was hang gliding, and I think what happened is that I want to say it was Squidward. I'm not sure. I mean, I should know because I just watched the episode, but I want to say it was Squidward. But he was out hang gliding while he was doing one of the events, and then I think he either escaped from being crashed into the walls or something, because there's a part in the episode where SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy were cheering for Squidward, and then you just see this huge explosion, because I'm trying to know if that was Squidward or not, but either way, I'm just going to assume that it was Squidward, because after the explosion, we did cut to Squidward just relaxing on a lawn chair. So yeah, overall, this episode was pretty good as well. So both of these episodes were really solid, and they were pretty good episodes in my opinion. Okay, so that was my review on Reggie Hild and the Perfect Camper. And yeah, so I'll see you guys next time with my review on episode 24. So this has been EB the Sponge Reviewer, and I'll see you guys next time. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and today I'm here to give you guys my review on episode 24 of Kamp Koral, Eye of the Hot Dog, and Patrick Takes the Cake. And these two episodes were actually, one of them was somewhat tolerable. So in the episode Eye of the Hot Dog, this episode has a very similar premise to the season 9 episode of the original series, What's Eating Patrick, where Craig Mamelton, if you guys don't know who that character is, he was actually from the episode Sun Bleached. He's in Kamp Koral, and he actually attends a hot dog eating contest. And this episode was actually played out as like this huge news report thing where we got interviews with the other campers such as SpongeBob, Larry the Lobster, Mr. Krabs, and a few others. So this episode was actually somewhat enjoyable compared to the other episode, but it's been a while since I've seen What's Eating Patrick. I have seen the episode maybe a few times when it came on Nickelodeon, but that episode had a really interesting premise where Patrick attends a Krabby Patty eating contest, and in this episode, Eye of the Hot Dog, the episode was actually pretty unique in a way, and the ending was somewhat, I guess, creative, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite of Kamp Koral. But this episode was still tolerable. I did like the whole idea of them doing another a contest episode related with food and whatnot. But I think having Patrick compete with Craig Mamelton is kind of like a role reversal, where in the climax of What's Eating Patrick, Patrick was competing with another Krabby Patty competition or Krabby Patty eating contest competitor or whatever. But yeah, all I'm trying to say is that Eye of the Hot Dog was a somewhat decent episode of Kamp Koral. Now, the next episode that we have here is Patrick Takes the Cake, and just what the title implies, it literally is about Patrick taking a piece of cake. And yeah, so everyone in Kamp Koral receives mail, and so the mailman accidentally sends Patrick a cake, and the cake becomes sentient, and he basically befriends the cake while everyone in Kamp Koral literally tries to take a piece of his cake. And it's really not all that interesting, if I want to be honest. This episode was rather weak because it wasn't really all that unique in my opinion. I think, and yeah, I know for me to say it's not unique because it's a SpongeBob we're talking about here, but I just don't like the idea of Patrick being friends with a talking cake. And I know there is going to be a future episode in SpongeBob in season 13. Yes, there is going to be a future episode of season 13 where SpongeBob befriends a talking Krabby Patty. But with this episode, I don't know. This one was just rather weak because it wasn't anything unique in my opinion. It's just Patrick befriending a talking cake. Everyone in Kamp Koral tries to go after his cake, and so yeah, so this episode was just not interesting in my opinion. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say with Patrick Takes the Cake. Alright, so that is my review on Eye of the Hot Dog and Patrick Takes the Cake. Eye of the Hot Dog was at least somewhat enjoyable than Patrick Takes the Cake. But yeah, that's all I have to say with these two episodes. Alright, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with episode 25. Goodbye, everyone. Hello, everyone. This is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and I'm back with another Kamp Koral review. Today, I'll be reviewing the episodes The Taste of Defeat and Scaredy Squirrel. So both of these episodes were somewhat interesting in my opinion, and I'm going to give you guys my opinions on them. So in the episode The Taste of Defeat, Narlene and Knobby creates a restaurant where everyone in Kamp Koral are enjoying their food, but Plankton, on the other hand, is trying to run her out of business because of her success. So this episode it was pretty unique seeing Narlene and Knobby actually starting up their own restaurant business where Narlene is doing the cooking while Knobby is taking the orders of the restaurant. And so there's actually a part in the episode where Plankton discovers the secret of the cooking or the food served at the restaurant. And it turns out that Narlene is basically cooking all the food with her feet. So Plankton reveals the secret to all the campers, and then they all get disgusted by it. And then Plankton is used as an ingredient as revenge. So that was the taste of defeat. Sorry if I'm looking down at my pants right now, but it's looking a little weird right now. But yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. I apologize for bringing that up. But all I'm here to say is that the taste of defeat was a pretty interesting episode, and it was a little weird seeing Narlene using her feet because if you guys know the long-time history of Nickelodeon's weird fetishes and whatnot, this is a little bit on the weird side. So now we're going to move on to Scaredy Squirrel, and in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick are hanging out with the trolley campers, which were obviously the Halloween characters that we first were introduced in the episode Cabin of Curiosities, and Sandy is basically afraid of them. So because of this, SpongeBob and Patrick tries to form a friendly relationship to the trolley campers with Sandy, to where they set up this whole scheme to honor Sandy's arrival. So basically, Sandy visits the trolley campers. She fears that they're going to eat them throughout this whole episode. So we get to hear Sandy's interesting dialogue as she's basically tries to avoid the trolley campers at all cost. But it all turned out that SpongeBob and Patrick planned this whole scheme just for them to basically share with Sandy the friendship of the campers. So that's basically what the whole episode is about, and it was pretty fun and unique. Alright, so that's my review on The Taste of Defeat and Scaredy Squirrel. Sorry about that. And tomorrow I'll be reviewing the Season 1 finale of Kamp Koral, so be on the lookout for that review tomorrow. So with that said, this has been EB the Sponge Reviewer signing out. Hello everyone, this is EB the Sponge Reviewer here, and today I'm here to give you guys my review on the Season 1 finale of Kamp Koral, SpongeBob's Under Years, Hats Off to Space, and In a Nutshell. So, and Hats Off to Space in this episode, the campers' hats are flying off into outer space, and so SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy goes on a mission to go into space to collect their hats back. And this episode was actually pretty unique in terms of the execution and some of the visual styles that they went with this episode. And yes, just like the title implies, this is another space episode in SpongeBob, and it's always fun seeing the crew coming up with unique episodes on a topic that they have already done before. But even though this episode was interesting, I think I wouldn't say this is my favorite space themed episode in SpongeBob. But this episode did have some good visuals and whatnot. So it turns out that the spaceship in the episode that was chasing them turned out to be Narlene and Knobby. Yes, they're in this episode. And they actually have a cousin who lives out in space somewhere. And the reason he took everyone's hats is because he was trying to find a hat that fits. And then Sandy just tells him that you can just put the hat inside your jug that you have over your head. So that's what he does. So that was Hats Off to Space. It was a pretty unique episode, and I quite enjoyed it. So moving on to the final episode of the season, and that is In a Nutshell. And in this episode, Mr. Krabs is out having some relaxation time out in this lake area. So he gets out of his shell, and he basically sunbathes outside of his shell. And once again, Gnarly and Knobby are once again in this episode. So they basically steal Mr. Krabs' shell, and it turns out that it's actually prank day at Kamp Koral, where all the campers prank the camp counselors, which are the adult characters, obviously. So it's this whole episode about the campers at Kamp Koral pranking Narlene and Knobby inside of Mr. Krabs' shell, and it was okay. I mean, it wasn't anything outrageous, because they were just typical basic pranks, like they were throwing pies at each other. There's this one part in the episode where Narlene and Knobby told this one kid to lick his armpit. That was kind of weird, but it is what it is. But either way, this episode was just okay in my opinion. Okay, so that is it, everyone. That is season 1 of Kamp Koral, and I have to say that this season was hit or miss, and there were some really good episodes. There were some standout episodes, while some of them were just okay or bad or whatnot. But overall, this was a pretty somewhat decent season of this show. And yes, you guys, there is going to be a season 2 of Kamp Koral. This was announced a long time ago, and it is going to be the final season of the series. So yeah, I am going to be looking at season 2 whenever that comes along and see how the series wraps up. But yeah, so that is it with my reviews for Kamp Koral. Until next time, there is going to be new SpongeBob reviews coming out later this month in June. We're also going to be getting new episodes in July of SpongeBob SquarePants Season 13. And not only that, next month is also going to wrap up Season 1 of the Patrick Star Show. So there's going to be a whole bunch of reviews coming out later down the line for this channel. So be on the lookout for that as I review them. So with that said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time with those SpongeBob reviews coming out later this month. So goodbye, everyone.